Hi, I'm Zachary Farnell. Thank you very much for joining me for another edition of your Timberlane Weather Update. I don't have a special edition of your Timberlane Weather Update this time. We're not in Spirit Week, we're past Halloween and we're into November. However, I'm breaking out the last of my Hawaiian shirts because today is expected to be one of the last times we'll reach into those 70-degree temperature ranges over the next couple of weeks. It feels like a broken record. Every single time I get in here to record, it is the same story over and over and over these past 2 to 3 weeks. These past 2 to 3 recordings have just felt the same every single time. It's very warm for the Wednesday before this recording or Thursday when I do these recordings, and then we expect a cool down over the weekend, but the heat will build back up for mid to late next week, and by the time it becomes Thursday of the next week, it's the same story all over again. I'm happy to say we're finally going to see a break in the pattern. Although warm today, expected some of that heat to kind of linger tomorrow. Over the weekend, it will cool down a lot, and next week continues the cool pattern, bringing us into fall finally. Hopefully once and for all. I mentioned that broken record and kind of just that heat that we've been dealing with. It's been a strange kind of pattern across this area, not something typical of this time of the year. Yesterday's temperatures, you're looking at them in New England, temperatures reaching those 70, maybe even some 80-degree marks as you get into some of the more southern areas of the Northeast. But really, this heat along the whole east coast of the United States, simply outrageous. You can see this whole heat wave across this area, and overnight it's been those temperatures that haven't cooled off a lot that have hurt us as well. Maybe not hurt, but it certainly has felt warmer than you'd expect, hurting those fall lovers as overnight. Those are warmer than what we'd expect for the daytime highs. Maybe around 55 degrees for much of the district. That's about maybe 5 to 10 degrees warmer than you'd expect for a typical northeastern New England day in November. But as we get towards today, you see that heat begin to back off a little bit, closer towards those averages that we'd expect around this time of the year, hopefully finally breaking us from this very, very warm and extremely, not humid, but it almost feels like sticky and gross out. It feels like August. Thankfully, we are finally getting a break from it. And all that coming in association with a little bit of clouds over the area, nothing too serious, but certainly been a lot cloudier today and yesterday than we've been seeing over the last couple of days. But we do have a hurricane brewing in the Gulf of Mexico. Made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane on the central coast of Cuba just a couple of days ago. Floating out over the Gulf of Mexico right now. Thankfully, a frontal system you can see in these clouds across much of the southeastern U.S. will prevent it from hitting any land in America, potentially any land at all. It may sputter out in the Gulf of Mexico, unable to organize. You can see it on the front map. It's way down here, this tropical system, expected to kind of continue floating around the Gulf of Mexico. You'll see it all the way through now Friday. You'll see it into Saturday and Sunday. But the biggest story for us, really nothing going on, a little bit of a system up to our north, no real impact expected, but out west we are really dealing with a pretty severe storm. We do have extremely high snow forecast totals for areas in Colorado and northern New Mexico. I'm talking areas expected to get up to 2, maybe 3 feet of snow, not just for the high elevations. I'm not talking like a Rocky Mountain blizzard. I'm talking in the Denver metro area, up to 1 foot of snow. Areas south towards Albuquerque, up to 2 feet of snow. In areas where maybe this time of the year, they're expecting some of the heat that we're expecting right now. This storm continuing to float around the air as we get into Saturday, lifts a little bit north and really expands its field. The area that will be affected by the snow by the time we hit Saturday now, not going to be as significant. The snow will begin to taper off in these areas, but it's been snowing there for days consistently now, and that's why we've seen such high snow totals. Again, it kind of expands its total area of impact across much of the central U.S. all the way down into Texas. We're seeing that rain float all the way up towards the Dakotas. And for us, we begin to see a large high pressure system building in. But we are not going to be able to see it dig itself in. It begins to establish itself, and just as it does so, it begins to get pushed away by this even stronger low pressure system. I mentioned it's the same one that's floating up from Texas right now, giving that snow out to parts of Colorado and New Mexico. You can see this rain expanding across now the eastern United States. It will eventually push its way to us by the time we hit Monday. That is why On our 5-day forecast, you can see pretty clearly Monday, the rain expected and a little bit of a warm-up comes with it. But for now, over the expected next couple of days, the weekend time frame, we're expecting some of that heat to linger on Friday, but it officially completely cools off on Saturday and Sunday. Highs in the low to mid 50s with overnight temperatures reaching down towards freezing once again. I mentioned again that warm up on Monday. It will be brief, however, and will break the pattern that we have been in so consistently. The rain washes through and the temperatures cool back down into the 50s for Tuesday. We finally get to our extended forecast and you're seeing cool temperatures abound. You're expecting generally highs below 50 degrees all mid to late next week. A couple showers mixed in there on Thursday and Friday, all associated with another low pressure system coming across the Rockies right now. But not anything too severe expected, and we continue to see those temperatures feel a lot more like fall. Well, I'm Zachary Farnell. Thank you very much for joining me for another edition of your Timberlane weather update. We're finally getting into that November time of the season, and I'm really hoping that the temperatures begin to fall off a little bit, giving us a chance, maybe, if we hope enough, we could be looking at a much better winter than we saw last year, as honestly last year with the warm temperatures and a whole lot of rain, frankly, it was boring. So I am retiring the Hawaiian shirts. I'm channeling my inner hopeful energy as we get towards the rest of November, hoping that these temperatures will continue to cool off and I'll never have to wear one of these until April or May next year. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm Zachary Farnell, signing off.